financially, even with New York being New York,
1702.
better off. So I'm not necessarily happy about it, but
You good? All right, we're recording. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 12th, 2023 workshop. I'm your Mayor, Chris Villa, and I call this meeting to order. Val, please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Here. Mayor Villa?
Here. Thank you, Val. And we will jump right into it tonight. We have the first thing on our agenda is the incentive agreement with the rock climbing business located at 627 Ridgewood Avenue. Mr. Forte, I'll hand the floor to you.
Okay, so staff and I met with the representative of the rock climbing business. And they came in and they showed us a draft set of plans that was basically half the size of the building that they originally proposed. And it didn't include the glass frontage that we were all told would be there, where people driving by would see people climbing up these rock walls. And they weren't going to have the internal, like a cafe or something like that, that they had originally proposed. So I said, look, that's a pretty significant cut. We're going to have to probably reduce what the reimbursements are. We have $50,000 in escrow. Probably cut that in half, and we would reimburse it to you when you got around to building the next phase of that, which they said they might have another business interested, but nothing was ever solid. So I figured we should have a work session and discuss what the commission thinks would be an option. So I will tell you that some commissioners have mentioned that, although the original 50,000 was based on them doing a larger building and a glass front, and now it's 50% of that and no glass front, that maybe giving them the 50,000 to put toward a glass front might be something to put them over the top. I did call and leave a message for Matt Smith tonight, and I went to his voicemail and I sent him an email in the hopes that maybe he would see it and respond back to me this evening to see if he would be in agreement with that. But whether he is or he isn't, I think that I should get some direction from the commission and then go back and talk with him about it and see if there's anything there that he possibly could do. So I'll kind of leave it open to discussion and just see what kind of direction we can come up with.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Forte. In my discussions, in my one-on-ones with Mr. Forte, I too said that I think that because it's 50% of what they proposed to us, that I would be open to, with the incentive money, going with $25,000, but to try to incentivize them further to build the glass wall in the front. And here's where I come down on this is, if you recall, when we sold this land, which is very important because it's on Ridgewood, we really wanted a unique business, something that people say, oh, that's in Holly Hill. And this rock business was exactly that. It's different, it's unique, and what we were presented was the idea that at night when you're coming down US 1, you see the rock wall. I forgot, is it 4 stories high or something like that? It's very tall.
Mm-hmm.
That would look, what is it? 40 feet, so 4 stories roughly. So we're going down, you see that. I think that visually, that's a huge impact for our downtown community. It brings more people here. So we weren't just trying to develop anything, and I think we all agree on that. I know that there was like a lumber mill and some other interested parties that we just weren't interested in doing that. And for the public's knowledge, that's where this came about, the incentive to be able to make sure that this was developed. I still want to see this developed. My only question is I really want to be able to have that impact along US 1, to be able to see the rock wall, see people climbing. And so my question for Joe is, that you probably don't have the answer tonight, is I know they were saying they would put windows on the front. We need to find out how big. I'm okay if it's not full glass panes, but it's window, and it's almost the same thing. If it's just one window,
the impression I got was it'd be like three windows.
Huge windows?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be these big windows like you envision. They would
Okay.
maybe be, I don't think they'd be 6-foot windows, and smaller than these, I think.
Okay, well, and in your talks with them, find out, I'm not for incentivizing that. I am for, meaning when it comes to the full 50,000. So I do want to see this developed. I am in the thought process of that I would give them half since they're giving us half for the incentive to make sure that it's built. And then also offer the full 50 grand if they were to put in the full glass panes. Now, I don't know how much that costs, if that makes it good for them or not to be able to financially do it. I would assume that they're very expensive. So that's how I feel on it, and I'll open the floor for whoever wants to go first. Yes, sir.
The thing that excited me about incentivizing was a 40-foot tall glass wall with lights and people climbing at night. So I'm really not so concerned about the square footage as half the size, but I differ from you slightly, Mr. Mayor. I won't support giving them anything if they don't put in the glass wall. I would support giving them the 50,000 towards the glass wall, because I know it's going to be very expensive. But if they put the glass wall in, 40-foot glass wall, and the building is half the size, I'm still okay with giving them the 50 grand. Because the impact, the visual impact of that wall, it doesn't matter if it's a 100,000 square foot building. That elevator shaft going up there is what you're going to see. So I would draw the line. I'll give you the full 50 if you put in the full glass wall. I'll give you 0 if you don't. That's how I would vote.
And to your point, that would make it more advantageous to them to actually put it in,
Right.
because now they're getting 50,000.
Again, 50, they're building half the size of the building. The glass is going to be expensive, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I think the visual impact of that 40-foot wall is worth $50,000. You can't paint a mural on it and make the same impact, because the lights and people moving is just going to, I think it would be amazing to see.
Great point,
So,
great point.
I was thinking the same thing he was gonna say.
Yeah,
It's like,
So fit-
without the window, it's useless. I think
Nothing.
it's just another building.
okay. Roy?
I kind of feel the same way. I know it's a big difference between daylight saving time and not daylight saving time, because it don't get dark till probably about 8:30 when we have daylight saving time.
Yep.
Now it's getting dark around 5:30 or so, seems like it. That makes a big difference to me too, when you're going, if it's lit up at night, it just be such a great thing, because as you well know, I'm 100% for sports in Hall Hill.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that would really bring it in.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Curry?
Yeah, basically all I have is, I'm in agreeance about the wall. I think the glass wall is very important aesthetically. So I can be in agreeance with what Commissioner Penny said about no
Yep.
incentive and.
I can too. So, Mr. Forte, if you go into that negotiation with them, you could express our opinion that we really want the glass wall to be done. I will say, I mean, I would be willing if they put a lot of windows, if it saved them a lot of money, I mean, and you had the same impact, I'd be open to considering that if they showed us a visual.
I wouldn't.
But
I wouldn't give
no,
them a
you want
dime. If they don't put the wall in,
full panel.
I'm
I
not
don't know,
supportive of
I don't know
dime.
what we ever envisioned would be the glass. I don't know if we all thought it would be
Like full
completely
glass.
open glass, like,
Yeah.
what are one of those fitness centers, or if it would be,
It has to have a wow factor.
it's got to have a wow factor.
Yeah.
So I think what they should do is present us a draft of what the elevation would look like, and then we'll make a decision based on that.
Good. All right. Are we all in agreement with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Let's move to our next item. We have 3 items about Pictona, or things happening at Pictona. Our first one is future concerts at Pictona. Mr. Forte.
Okay, so for this, I just want to make everybody aware that Rick Hamilton did submit his letter of resignation primarily for health reasons. So his last day is going to be in January 31st. He'll get us through. We have a concert in January that he'll get us through, and between now and then, John and Michelle are going to try to absorb whatever information Rick may have. So we've already changed the ticketing company from the Memby service that the chamber was doing to the ticketing company. So that's going to clear up a lot of confusion over the tickets and what's been issued and what's been paid for and whatnot. But part of this request is that instead of replacing a contract employee like Rick, is to go ahead and hire a part-time person on staff and have that person work with John, that together they would handle, not that this part-timer would do it all, but that would be the part-timer's primary role, was to handle the concerts, and then John would be involved with it as well. You know, somebody's got to stay there every night when there's a concert till the end and make sure everything gets off properly. So I'm requesting that we use the funds for Rick to go ahead and fill it as a part-time position on staff.
Are you proposing it to be expenditure neutral, meaning, you know, we're paying him $36,000 this year. Will we have a savings? Will it be about the same?
I don't know. It depends on who we can hire, what the quality of their work is, what their experience is, how much time they're going to put in. I don't necessarily think that after all of the cost, you know, workers' comp, taxes, FICA and all that stuff, I don't know if it's going to come out to $36,000. It may be more. I'm just not sure. But again, at a part-time level, I think it might be pretty close. So I think there'll be money in there through attrition. By the time we get somebody hired, we might have some savings in that area, but we're going to have to transfer the money over from contract employee into part-time employee.
Okay, so there is in the budget the contract with,
Oh, yeah.
with them, so that would just transfer over.
Yeah, it's paid out of the CRA fund.
All right. Any thoughts?
Joe, do you envision this person, even part-time, they'll be busy 1 week a month, and then there'll be some slack time. Do you envision them maybe backfilling in some of the special events like car shows and art shows and helping Val with the Christmas parade and stuff like that?
They can certainly help. You know, now that we have the new ticket taker system, that'll be a convenience. Somebody's going to have to be there the night. So I don't envision this person necessarily working Monday through Friday, 4 hours a day. They may work, 1 week they may work 20 hours, the next week they may work 40 hours,
Right.
depending upon what the demand is. And that's got to be known when we hire them, is you're going to have slow weeks and busy weeks, and that's the job. But we can certainly use whatever available time is to assist with some of the other events that are going on. I don't know what detail that may be just yet.
That was also one of my questions, because even being a part-time employee, that is not going to take up all of the time. So I thought a good idea would be to assist with some of the events that we have going on.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Would you still consider, if the right person came along, to contract with them, so that
Sure.
way we don't have to worry about all of the details that goes with hiring an employee?
Yeah, if we can find somebody that would prefer to be a contract employee. But the thing about a contract employee is I have no control over time.
Right.
So for example, you know, Rick's got some medical issues, and he hasn't come to the office in weeks, months. So he works from home.
Right.
So I don't have that control on time accountability. He gets paid.
And
you
you
know,
can't tell them to help Val with the parade. And-
Right, it's strictly what he's contracted for. I mean, we could write that into the contract.
Oh.
If we know it in advance, we could write it into the contract, but I can't change it once the contract's been issued.
Right, okay. Further questions or ideas, thoughts?
If you hire someone part-time, say, how many, is there a regulated number of hours that you're allowed to work and still be a part-time employee?
I think it gets based off the Affordable Care Act, and I believe it's 30 hours,
Under 30 hours.
So he
35?
He can't work 40 hours.
35 hours. Right, he can't work. So what I would typically do is sometimes, because we work a 2-week pay cycle, they have to put in less than 80 hours in the 2-week pay cycle.
Right, because 1 week he could be working 50, but the next week only 25.
Right, so,
So you just have to be careful of not letting work.
But we're never going to have two events
Sure.
in 2 weeks in a row.
there shouldn't be anymore. We had that last year, and the projected schedule, which has not yet been finalized, is pretty much in place, and we kind of know what that is. So, I mean, it depends what the job is going to be. It's coordinating the lighting and the equipment and the security company and the cleaning company. So there's a lot of work leading up to the event that I think will take some time.
Would you place him under Mr. Cox?
He would work, yeah, with John.
Okay. And then could he use him for some of the outreach he did, for instance?
If it's
recently the
part-time, working for the
shop
city, we could have him do whatever we want. You know, but if he's contracted, then it's come kind of limited on the contract agreement.
Okay.
But if he's part-time, he don't get all the benefits, right?
They still get FRS benefits, they don't get health benefits. They get part-time FRS credits, but not the health benefits. I think they get half-time for the holidays, stuff like that.
So what exactly are you looking for us?
Permission to allow me to hire
Whatever you come across is best.
either another contract employee or a part-timer to fill that spot.
Got it, right.
So it adds another half FTE to our employee count.
Yep. Okay, so.
So while I'm on that subject, we met with the Chamber Board, met with their staff last week, I met with the Chamber Board yesterday. Commissioner Penny was part of that because he's on the Chamber Board. And there's some discrepancies in the monies that are remaining with the Chamber that they owe the city for the concerts. And it comes down to whether or not the city owes them $2 per ticket for the tickets that were issued at no cost, the free tickets. So it was a little bit of a debate over whether we should owe that or not owe that. I did find 2 draft documents that were redlined and in the process of going through the approval that said any ticket issued, whether paid or complimentary, the Chamber would get a $2 processing fee. So having that, one may conclude that, yeah, they probably should be entitled to the $2 per ticket. Even at that, if we credited them, it would still be about, would it be $400 short, or we would be
No.
made whole?
We're whole, because the chamber paid you 400 and change.
Okay, oh yeah, so they would pay us the 400, and then they'd have some money left over. So it's kind of a wash. If we pay them and they pay us back, or they don't pay us, so for accounting purposes, we're going to do a note to file, whatever the heck it's called, and we're going to put in there that, based on these draft documents that were never signed, we believe that it was probably appropriate for them to get the $2 per ticket issued, regardless of whether it's a paid-for ticket or not.
Right, so we don't have to exchange the money. It's just, you owe us this, we owe you that.
Okay, so it's just, okay.
It's a wash.
And they closed the doors with $38 in the bank, I think.
What do they do with that?
They donate it?
Paid to a nonprofit.
Oh, okay.
All right, so, yes, Mr. Forte, I am in favor of doing it that way. I think we owe them that money, and then, and I don't want to write it off. The other option is just to write it off as we didn't collect what was owed to
Yeah,
us, so,
I'd rather
but in reality, we owe them that money anyway, so I'd rather do it that way.
It's cleaner.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it makes it easier for the staff.
Makes
I
it
just
easier
wish
for
the
everyone with
agreement would have been
finance department.
finalized
And it's fair, so,
Yeah.
okay, so you have,
Yeah.
you have that. But let's go back to the part-time employee. Let's see the will of the commission here.
I'm fine.
I'm fine with it.
Yes, yes, yes,
What about, let me ask you one more question.
maybe.
You're regulated by, see, our company doesn't do that. If we work past 8 hours, we get overtime.
Right.
So if, say like you work 60 hours in 2 weeks, that's,
If we don't get paid overtime until after 40 hours a week. It's 40 hours a week, not 80 hours in 2 weeks.
so
Yeah,
you
so-
couldn't work 50 hours one week and 10 the next.
No, they'd have to work 40, no more than 40 in a week, and then less than 40 the next.
So they don't go by pay period, they go by weekly.
Well, but yes, but we're in a 2-week pay period, so within that 2-week pay period, they could never work more than 40 no matter what. No matter what. They can't,
No more than 40 each week.
in a week. Right.
But if you, oh, I see. So you can't go past 40 hours. If you go as much as 40 hours in a week, does that make you a full-time employee?
It does, and I would prefer to keep them no more than 30 hours, 35 hours
Each week.
in the week, maximum. But like I said, 1 week he might be at 35, he or she might be at 35, and another week he might be at 10.
So you can go over but you can't go as much as 40 in a week.
Right, if you go over 40
That's what I
consistently,
was trying to make sure.
So then what I said, and you said yes, isn't true then?
what's that?
When I said it's 1 week, it might work 50 hours, next week,
Well, they probably shouldn't be, 50 is kind of an exaggeration, but they would work more one week and less another week. Within
below
that,
40.
I'd be more for the
right,
part-time.
not more than 40.
I'd be more for the part-time employees. You have to be so careful with the wage now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, looks like you have the will of the commission to proceed. Please keep us, though, informed.
Sure.
Once you put that out to hire someone, and then update us on that. Next on our agenda is Pictona Identity and Slogan. So this was brought up by our vice mayor, and I thought,
You skipped one.
Yeah, what happened to the?
what did I skip?
Seagull.
Oh, I'm
Seagull.
sorry. Number 5 is Pictona usage of Sika Hall and Chamber of Commerce building for senior activities. Number 1 is Pictona usage of Sika Hall and Holly Hill Chamber building, senior activities center. Mr. Forte?
So in your agenda, there's a letter from Reiner that talks about some opportunities for Pictona to run programs at Sika Hall and at the Chamber Building. The front office area would still be used as office space, and I don't know if I would put the CRA office over there, if I have room to keep the CRA office over here, or if Pictona would need it. But they think that they have enough interest in some of these programs at the activity center, which they'll call activity center instead of senior activity center. They have enough interest that they think they could expand those in both physical and mental programs, everything from dance classes to, it's called BAM, balance in motion, things like that. And especially when they have tournaments where there's so many people there that they can't put the classes on because those rooms are being used for tournament processing. So they think that they could expand into those two areas and be successful. So two things, well, a couple of things. One is we would still do that like we've done on the others. We would pay the utility costs, the electric, the water, the trash. We would pay for the maintenance of the building, air conditioning, doors break, things of that nature. But they would take care of the custodial work. So instead of having one of our custodians go over there, they would be responsible for custodial work. So that's one thing. There's the name of what it would be. It comes up to question, is it Florida Healthcare Activity Center at Pictona in Holly Hill? You know, it's an awful lot of words in there, and, you know, I want to make sure that we get what we want before, it's going to have to be a separate agreement. So we need to make sure we get what we want before that agreement is signed, and not look back and go, I wish we would have done something different. So not that I need those decisions today, I wanted to at least get to this point to see if the commission was in favor of me going over and talking with Reiner about some of these opportunities and see where we could land. We already pay for the director of the activities center, so that's already a fee that would be in there. They would pay for the part-timer, they would hire an additional part-timer. And then, you know, we don't have a rec department, so maybe this is an opportunity where they can grow. And they said they would coordinate their programs with whatever's happening over at the YMCA, so that it's not in conflict.
Yep. So you're looking for ideas before you go back to start the process to draw up a contract with Pictona?
Well, I want to at least get the conversation started.
Right.
And then as the conversation gets started, I'll get back with the commission and say, look, here's where we're talking, and then you give me your feedback as to what you think is good or bad, or what you want to see different.
Yep. So my thoughts are, one by one, is I think it's a good idea to let them use Sika Hall because they're expanding their activities. That's great for the surrounding community. I am not, as of right now, in favor of telling them that they can use the current chamber building. I think that it could be used for additional city offices, as Mr. Forte, you and I have talked about, if needed. As well as other things. And I heard today, I haven't talked to you about this, Mr. Forte, I don't know if you heard this, but I heard through the grapevine, I hadn't talked to them directly, that the Historic Society was interested in and expanding as well. I guess Commissioner Daniel, you've heard that as well. I haven't talked to them directly, but I think it's something we should consider. I'm not saying that's what we should do today, but I think there's better uses for that building than Pictona at this moment. But I do agree that to allow them to expand Sika Hall, I think for dancing and ballroom dancing and those things, I think Sika Hall is awesome for that. That's a great facility that they should be able to use. So I'm for that. When it comes to the question of the naming, I think that, is it Florida Healthcare right now, the sponsor? So they pay for that, so they obviously have to stay in the name. If Pictona is going,
Well, let me just clarify. They
Okay.
paid us an amount of money of which we used that money to pay for almost 50% of the salary, but that's only for 5 years. So I don't remember what the number was. I'd have to go back. It might have been 100,000, and we used 20,000 a year for 5 years toward the salary, something of that nature.
so
But
it may fall off at some
Oh,
point.
it definitely will fall off unless and they have a 10-year agreement. So 5 years worth of pay for 10 years worth of naming rights.
Okay.
This is one of the agreements that was done early on that we didn't know what it was going to be, so they kind of got a pretty good deal.
Okay. I think that, and I don't have a name for you today, but if Pictona wants to be, so in the letter it said that Pictona wants to capitalize on the goodwill of the activity center and use that positive publicity for themselves. And then it did say in the next line that Holly Hill would probably want the same. And of course, I think that we want to see that. When it comes to the senior activity center, that is something that this commission fought for. We made sure was in there. We added that. We funded that. We still fund an employee over there, or half of it. And so I think that if their name is going to be in it, our name needs to be in it. It does get very cumbersome. So, the official name could be longer. I was thinking maybe we could come up with an acronym, but that's always tough because then you got to check the acronym, make sure it doesn't mean anything you don't want it to mean. But that's a tough one for me. I'm going to have to chew on it and think of some ideas for that. And at the end of the day, it may be that, Pictona and Holly Hill don't have their name in it and at the end of the day, the sponsor is paying for that. And I want them to sponsor it again. And, once that contract runs
I
out.
think the sponsor's name will always be part of it.
Right. And it may change. So, it may just become known as the activity center, even though the full name is yada, 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 yada. That's how I feel. I'll open the floor for anyone else.
The one guy from the historical center, he comes in quite a bit, the young guy, and he was talking about,
Jordan or?
yeah, Jordan, yeah. He was talking about them being interested in expanding too, so I'm kind of with you on that. I would think they earn the right to have first kind of dibs at it, I would think.
So you're saying hold off on that, but then the name, do you feel the
The
same?
name is all,
It's
that's
whatever.
just logistics, man, we'll figure that
Hold
out.
off on working with the Historic Society?
What's that?
Hold off on working?
No. I think they should have first right of refusal before,
You want me to engage the Historic Society?
yeah, because they're talking about it anyway, and they're already there.
About it.
We should see what they propose, I think. I'd like to hear them out too. Not saying I'm going to do that, but I do want to hear what they have in mind.
Okay.
Well, I'm in agreement with you on Sika Hall. That's a no-brainer. And the name, we can figure that out in the details later. I'm just a little concerned about what goes over at the old chamber building. Joe's talking about bringing in a part-timer in the CRA department. I think that front office screams for that department to be over there. And if the Historic Society wanted to do something in the back, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I would like to see the Historic Society have a little skin in the game. I'd like to see them raise a little money and do something. We pay all the bills over there. And so I've been approached by 3 different members of the Historic Society. I think they think it's a given that they're just going to, when the chamber moves out, they're just going to fill their stuff in. And I was at one of their special events last month, and it's a terrible setup, the way they have it, because they served refreshments. They don't have a sink. They have to wash their sinks and their dishes in the bathroom. There's no access to a sink on that. So when the building was split or constructed, there was no thought of it being a 50-50 building. So at the very least, they need to have some access to that kitchen area there, and I don't know if you can move doors or what, but, so I'm not opposed to them going over there, but I really think that John's office is going to get pretty small if he has a part-timer in that little 10-by-10 room he's in now.
Well, I'd rearrange things.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, if we're going to expand, we have that space. Let's not give it away if we have a better use for ourselves.
Agreed, yeah.
And
Commissioner
I
Curry?
agree with that.
Okay. Anything to add, Commissioner Johnson?
I just don't believe you should paint yourself in a corner. You should allow room for expansion no matter what. You know, that's what we can do. I mean, if we say the Historic Society can take it, if they're not paying anything, what do we get out of it?
All right, so what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear consensus that we are all in agreement of Pictona being able to use Sika Hall, but not the chamber building at this time, and we'll figure out the name as we go along. Is that correct? All right, Mr. Forte, you have your consensus on that.
Okay, while I'm on this subject, I do want to go to the map real quick.
That's Africa.
No, no, that's not even the right comment.
A little bit of ways away.
So one of the other, can you hear me? One of the other challenges that we have, and Reiner sent me an email over the weekend, that there was a little bit of scuttlebutt about, where's America?
It's
Keep
gone.
going.
It's an ocean. It's a big ocean.
A little bit down.
Am I missing something?
Nope,
right-
keep going, keep going.
You're going North Pole, South Pole
Yeah,
right
you're
now.
going like,
You're spinning it
straight
around.
up. There you go.
I'm usually a lot better at that.
I know. What the
I
heck?
know, you're like the pro.
Type in the address.
I'm upside down.
Yeah, you are.
It's all the pressure.
You-
Keep
the
going,
Earth-
keep
the Earth
going.
is spun upside down.
Yeah,
I'm going to do this. I can't really see it.
Just type in the address.
yeah, type in Holly Hill.
Okay. Oh, my,
Completely upset.
I don't know where I was.
The pyramids.
Okay, so Reiner had heard some little rumor or scuttlebutt going around that one of the associations was considering not going back to Pictona because of the parking problem. Now, the person he heard that from also isn't aware of all the parking that really is available on-site and off-site. Last Monday, I did go with Antoine to look at the back of City Yards. And my initial thought was, well, maybe we can cut City Yards in half and give them this whole back half. Well, after I walked the area with Antoine and realized what's back there and what they need access to and having enough area for trucks to move and turn and pick up dirt and drop dirt, and there's sand for sandbags, there's dirt from the street sweeper. This is a pile of millings that eventually will go down, but it's still there. So what Antoine was recommending is that we give them a section from right about, there's a gate down here, from this side of the gate, and bring it up so that it matches this side of the gate over here, and just fence all this in. And then we would use some of our heavy equipment to just kind of level it out and make it more parkable. I don't think we'd be putting millings or,
We'll spread buildings.
yeah, we'll spread some millings just to stabilize it a little bit, but not go into anything fancy. That we can do in-house. And then if there's anything beyond that, like the need for lights, I kind of think that would be a Pictona expense. Whether it's generator lights or power run to spotlights up there, or whatever it may be. So I wanted to kind of throw that out to the commission and see if they support that recommendation. And I don't know how many cars they could actually fit in there.
Looks like I bet you could get there's like 50 cars there right now. You could get 200 there easy.
So, I mean, it's certainly an improvement if we could. Now, it wouldn't be given to them.
200 in that space?
There's 50 right there right now.
It would be given to them as needed, so it's not like we'd have one of those, a lock and a lock, where if they need it, they'd have access to it, but if we need it, we have access to it, so we'll have to coordinate. You know, a hurricane comes and I don't have room on the old school site for debris, that's our debris area. You know, if I need an area for sand, for sandbags, I've got to use it for that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's ours, but it's obvious that they need more parking. We all see that. But the real problem with parking exists when it rains, because then they can't use that field.
Right, that was the whole problem, the retention ponds.
Right. And I think, it's hit or miss. I mean, if that's going to happen or not. I think if you don't have that problem, then this will be more than enough space. So I'm willing to say yes to this, but I agree with you, Joe, that I don't want the city to spend extra money to pave it and to dedicate it and do all this, put in permanent lighting. I think portable lighting, if there's tournaments happening at night, then Pictona can have that down there. And I think that that'll be a decision on them. That's just where I'm at on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know the last tournament, they actually had golf carts and they were shuttling people back and forth.
Oh,
to
did
that.
they?
Yeah.
Nice. Is everyone in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Good, Joe?
Yes.
All right. Now we'll move to number 6, Pictona identity and slogan. So, Mr. Vice Mayor, you brought this up, and I thought it was an amazing idea. I love it. And you look at Naples, and they stole our little thing, but they beat us to the punch.
Right.
It was fair. I've given a lot of thought to this, but you look like you want to talk. You want to lead
No,
on?
no.
I have an idea.
Okay.
So, and I know that Pictona has gone ahead without, discussing it with us. I think maybe they caught wind that we wanted to work together to come up with a full slogan that we could both use to promote it. And they came up with Pickleball Paradise. Now, my opinion probably doesn't mean much to them, but my opinion is that that's not a good slogan. I don't think of that as Pickleball Paradise. When I think of paradise, I think of palm trees and tiki torches, and although that place is nice, that's not what that is. And I don't think it separates us as a city. So what I thought of is a play off of, we're already playing off of Daytona International Speedway by Pictona, and we talk a lot about being the NASCAR of pickleball. Well, what they use is the World Center of Pickleball. And it's available, and they don't have to use it. We can just declare we are the World Center of Pickleball. We can't be the pickleball capital of the world because of Naples, unfortunately, but the World Center of Pickleball. So I wanted to throw that out there, John, because I told you I'd give it a lot of thought. And that-
I think it's a good idea. My struggles with this thing is, I think it's a great idea. I just don't know what the words are. And I really see it going past the slogan, and incorporating Commissioner Danio's peanuts around the city would be fiberglass pickleballs in front of businesses or in a park or somewhere. And have a local artist paint them, and that ties into our mural theme, and it's kind of all coming full circle. I like your idea, and I think it's something that whether, honestly, Pictona is going to spend more marketing dollars on this than we will. So I don't think we should do something that offends them, but I like your suggestion. And there could still be shirts that say Pickleball Paradise.
Yeah, I'm not saying take it away.
No, but I think that's a good idea. I liked, world's
just
most
think
famous, but it does. Now we got to make sure. Has anyone else declared that?
No, we looked it up. We didn't find that at all. It's kind of a play off of, the
No,
World
it
Center
is.
of
But
Racing.
we're right there.
We are, and then my thought too on it was that I think it would catch on, and I think of ESPN when they're showing
Right.
it. We're here at Pictona at Holly Hill, the World Center of Pickleball. They're never going to say Pickleball Paradise.
Right.
It's
Right.
not catchy. It's not. So what we should do is tell Reiner that he came up with this and said it, and then we're just bringing it back up, and I think he'll be for it. So that's, I think, the way we approach this. We shouldn't shove it down their throat.
Right.
I'm
No.
not saying that, but what I am saying is that as we promote this brand just as Daytona is the world's
Right.
most famous beach just because they declared it. We declare ourselves the World Center of Pickleball. That's my thought.
I like it.
process, but
I like
You were biting at the bit.
Well, no, I like it. I have a pickleball group of about 24 people that we regularly play with. And so I've said something to them, hey, if you could come up with a slogan, what would you come up with? But none of them, I like yours. But
Pass that one by him.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out,
Okay.
just because I told them I would. Holly Hill, home of Pictona, and Holly Hill Pickleball Mecca at Pictona. But I do like the World Center of Pickleball.
That rolls off your tongue a lot easier.
It's concise.
I
It
do
means
like
so much within a few words.
So the big fat Greek wedding idea, let him think he said it?
Yeah,
Is that how it works?
I think. You tell me.
I thought I heard it once.
So you want me to present that, or bring it up in conversation,
So, look, I think first it starts with us. I think that as we promote Pictona anywhere, we've been in magazines and whatnot, we add that slogan to it right underneath, the World Center of Pictona. We start using that verbiage. If they want to pick it up, that's great. I don't know, Joe, you have a good relationship with the Martins. Maybe you could bring it up if you feel that's the best way to go about it. I want to do it in the best way possible. I think that it's advantageous for them and it's advantageous for us, because for them, they want to be known as the World Center of
Right.
Pickleball.
So, Mayor, are we doing Holly Hill World Center of Pickleball, or?
I would say it's not our official slogan for everything and everywhere.
Just
We don't
World
have that sort of
Center of
logo.
Pickleball.
But if it's specific to Pictona, we're promoting that we are the World Center of Pickleball.
Okay.
And hopefully in conjunction with Pictona. So you could talk to the board about it, Mr. Forte. Mr. Johnson.
We're picking out, we seem like we're getting more Pictona, more pickleball. I don't play pickleball, so I don't know a lot about it. But it seems like it's growing fast. It's not going to back up. We're going to go forward with it. What I think. I was thinking about, and back up to the question before that one. If we don't have enough parking for people to park, it's going to eventually, some of it's going to go away.
Yes.
People just don't like that. They don't
Yep.
like to try to find a place to park on the street and walk, or someplace they got to worry about, like on the beach side, every time you park, you got to worry about if the car's going to be towed before you get back. And I think we ought to at least look into the minimum amount it would cost to make a parking lot. What do you have to pave it or gravel it or whatever, to where it's accessible when it's raining or whether the weather's bad, or you can have access to the parking lot back to Pictona or whatever. I think to me, that is a big thing. I didn't believe you've got to spend some money to make money. I've always been that way, but I don't look at it like, we use a parking lot we already have, but if you can't use it in bad weather, we have our share of it. It's not going to work. I think we ought to at least get some kind of an idea of how much it would cost us to improve the parking lot, even if we don't have to contract it out,
Right.
I really honestly do that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I think you could use the words Pictona and Holly Hill interchangeable in that slogan.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
I was recently talking to a guy yesterday, he just came back from a cruise. He works a mile away from Pictona. He's never been there. He asks me about it all the time. He played pickleball on the cruise.
They have
With-
pickleball now?
Yeah, they have pickleball on cruises.
Oh, wow.
Just going on a cruise.
They play it on the basketball courts, and they've
Oh,
got a
okay.
glass wall around it.
Yeah.
But he was playing with people he never met from all around the country. When he told them where he lived, they knew Pictona.
Oh, cool.
They didn't know it was in Holly Hill, but they knew Pictona was in the Daytona Beach area. And I want ESPN to say we're at Holly Hill, the
They,
World Center.
World Center of
they were a
Pickleball.
lot
Because
better
they-
about it for the PPA.
They were.
They can
Yeah.
say Pictona World Center of Pickleball, but if they interchange those two words, we get more credibility from it, I think.
Yeah,
And they were
Interchangeable.
much
I
better
agree.
about it the last tournament.
I agree. And so I think it would be most beneficial to be able
I
to
see
work
some
with them
t-shirts
with
in the
that.
future.
I do too, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think maybe it shouldn't be my idea. Maybe it comes from one of you guys. Just throw it out there that it
I see
happened.
Reiner a couple times a week, so
There you
I
go.
float it out to him.
There you go. All right, so,
Receptive.
all right, so we talked about that. Joe, hold off on the solid waste findings, because we could talk about that at the end of the meeting if need be, but we're coming up, we only have 14 minutes left. So wanted to discuss the neighborhood community meetings for developments, and Brian, I didn't ask you to be prepared for this or whatnot, but I did ask you some questions about it. So if I state you wrong or whatnot, you feel free to correct me. Unless, are you prepared to present anything on this?
I can talk about my findings.
I'll talk about it, and then you come up if you have something to add. So we have talked about this in a couple other meetings. So right now, well, let's use an example of, in January, there will be a development coming before us that is for townhomes. And currently, we do not have a requirement for a developer that's coming in to hold a developer-initiated neighborhood meeting. So other communities do, and I asked Brian to reach out, and at the time that he responded a couple weeks ago, he reached out to 10 cities with regard to whether or not they require that a developer hold a neighborhood meeting prior to a rezone or a future land use amendment being formally presented. The results are as follows. Port Orange is yes, Ormond Beach, yes, Daytona Beach, yes, DeBerry, yes. Then there's 6 others. So out of the 10, 4 were yes, that they require these neighborhood meetings. It's not unusual. And so what I would say is, and what I'm asking the commission tonight to give staff direction is to have them prepare an item to come back to us for us to require, if there's any future land use amendments or rezones that are abutting residential properties, that we require the developer to first, before it goes to the Board of Planning Appeals, to hold a neighborhood meeting, a developer-initiated neighborhood meeting. They will invite the people within that radius that they have to do. Now, what I will say is that in January, the item that's coming before us, even though we don't require that, Mr. Walker reached out to the developer and they agreed to hold one of these meetings. And I understand today you told me that there were 6 people at that meeting. So, and look, here's the thing. We all see it, that when we have a rezone or future land use, we're sitting as a quasi-judicial body, and a lot of the residents come out and they come before us and they ask questions. And technically, we're not really here to answer those questions. We're here to hear the input that they have on the item. But the problem with that is that unlike us government junkies that know that, you know, we can look up the agenda and go through all the items, we can call staff, we can make those calls. A lot of times they have legitimate questions that they just want answered, and they didn't know prior to this meeting they could call and talk about this. So what this does, I think, before it even goes to the Board of Planning Appeals, developer holds the meeting, answers any questions that they have. Furthermore, here's the input, and that might actually, before they come before the Board of Planning Appeals, make the developer go, you know what, we're going to add extra park space, or we're going to address this, we're going to address that, because this is the needs of that neighborhood. I think there's only benefits to doing it. I don't think that, you know, any developer would say, oh, I'm not going to go to Holly Hill to try to do anything just because I have to hold one meeting, especially because these other cities require these meetings as well. So I think it's simple, and I think it creates more education. I think it gets answers, and it also allows the community to have more input. So I just wanted to see if there was enough support to have staff come back with an item so that we could put an extra requirement on it. Yes, ma'am.
If I may. I was actually at a neighborhood meeting that a developer was doing
Daytona.
off of 6th Street, the News Journal, because I had several residents contact me, and I knew that there was a lot of concern, a lot of misinformation, people thinking we were involved, and so I decided to go out there just to see what was happening and try to clear up some misinformation. And I can tell you, we were there maybe 20 or 30 minutes. It wasn't a long meeting, but there were a lot of questions. And I thought to myself, you know, this is a pretty good idea to have this, because a lot of this can be quashed before it gets to even the Board of Planning and Appeals. So I can support that, because I actually saw how well that worked.
Yeah, good, thank you.
So I can definitely support that, Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
My only concern is, do the other municipalities put a size limit on the rezoning or future land use? Because if you're doing 50 by 100 lot, it sounds like a lot of work for nothing.
Yeah, so it's a mixed bag of what they do or what they don't, and I have an email here from Mr. Walker, and he would know better than I on the details. But what we could do, Commissioner, is we can ask staff to go through and give us detailed information on what is required in each
Right.
municipality.
I'm
And
fine
then
with that, yeah.
I think then we pick and choose the best of each.
Right.
Because nobody, I think, is 100% right. So let's pick and choose what works from Daytona and Port Orange and Ormond, and what doesn't work, we could throw out. So, because we're unique, and we don't have many available properties for development, but we do have several that could be redeveloped in the future. So, so are you good with
fine.
that?
I'm okay with that.
All right. All right, you have consensus to have staff, yes, Mr. Walker, you come to the podium.
It's going to fix everything you messed up.
He's got a question for us.
No, it may just be helpful to know that the vast majority base the meeting on what type of development is going next to residential. So most of them say if you are rezoning and you are going from, let's say, residential to multifamily next to residential, or commercial next to residential, industrial, that is primarily what I saw. I didn't really see any that had to do with size, but more the type of development going into residential. So if you're going from commercial to commercial, many didn't require a neighborhood meeting, or residential to residential. But anything where you were increasing intensity next to residential, that's more or less what I saw.
I think at a bare minimum, anytime density is increased, that needs to be taken a look at, or if residential is moving to commercial. So, yeah, yep.
I think typically those meetings are not attended by staff. It's held by the developer.
Correct.
And the community. So I
Yep.
just want to make sure everybody understands, we wouldn't have representation there.
Correct, but it's a requirement that we have them hold it so that way
Yes.
they can hear the community and get answers to the residents that are looking for them. Okay, and then we have 5 minutes left. Do you need more time than that? We could do it at the end of the meeting for solid waste, or do you want to cover that now?
Probably need more time than.
Okay, then let's cover that under your comments at the end of the meeting. That way we have 5 minutes before the city commission meeting.
You want it under my comments, or do you want to adjourn and go back to a work session?
We can do it under your comments because I don't think you're looking for anything other than just consensus.
Right,
You're just
okay.
informing us. Okay, is there anything further before this commission that we need to discuss in this workshop? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.